Well, now we're on to the top 5 segment, and this week it is top 5 TV shows that would have been better movies. But man, the number 5 for both of us, we're like-minded. So that goes to The Patient.
Oh,
That
yeah.
was a Hulu original. Very good. Don't get me wrong. Very good. But at some points, it did drag a little bit, and I felt like it would have just been better, a nice flowing film, you
Yeah,
know?
psychological thriller told in 2 hours. I think it
Yeah.
would have been really great.
Yeah.
Keep all the same performers.
Oh,
They
for
were
sure.
freaking phenomenal and scary as shit.
Yeah.
But yeah, I felt like there was a couple of gap episodes that just drug and
Yeah.
weren't necessary. So you could have consolidated it down into like a whodunit, thriller type 2-hour movie, and I think it would have been awesome.
I completely agree. Number 4 for me, and I don't know if you feel this way, but it's Cobra Kai. Netflix's Cobra Kai. I feel like each season could have been like its own movie, to be honest. I especially the first season that dropped on Netflix, which I believe was season 2 or 3. It was just, something special. And I feel like the further it progressed, like we said, it got more and more cheesy and a little stale. So I felt like if it got consolidated a little bit, it would have been better for audiences' enjoyment. But overall, I mean, they're still rocking and rolling. People still love the series. But for personal preference, I feel like it would have just been better as multiple films. And you might have made more money from that way too.
I kind of feel the same way about mine. Number 4, the Book of Boba Fett. I like the idea of learning what happened to him, finding out he's not dead, what's kind of going down. But I thought the series was kind of a fail because it was literally just here, watch this while we're doing to the next season of The Mandalorian. And I felt like that's what it was. It was just a gap show to hold you over until they finished production on the next season of The Mandalorian. It felt rushed to me. It felt like it was more of about what was going to happen with Mando as opposed to really diving into Boba Fett's story. And I felt like if you wanted to do this, it would make an epic film. I want to see the story, and I would have liked to have seen it played out a bit better and more concise and more directed towards Boba Fett in a movie, as opposed to just kind of spread out over a few episodes, 2 or 3 of which I felt weren't even necessary, just to fill the gap between the Mandalorian seasons. I just feel like, was there a place for this? Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Did we need to know the story of? Absolutely. But it should have been, in my opinion, in a movie instead of the TV shows.
Number 3 for me is The Walking Dead. So I feel like, again, like Cobra Kai, you could have made each season, because up until up until season 7 or 8, really 9 is where we both dropped off, I think. But up until then, like, it was very entertaining, them going place to place, dealing with different societies, just trying to make it throughout the world that they live in now. But once you got to a certain point, to the point we were just like, this is not even good anymore. They did stray away from the graphic novels, which, we didn't read those. So, but there was so much more potential and storyline that we know could have happened. And once we heard that, we were like, and then, the story just got kind of dull. So that's the main reason I dropped off of it. But I feel like, the prison season, I feel like that is the best season of The Walking Dead. And I feel like, I think that's either 2 or 3, but that's the prime. And I feel like that right there would have made a great freaking movie.
My number 3 is Invasion, which was a really cool first season. I want to say it only lasted a season or 2, maybe only a season, but because by the end of it, it started to really fucking drag. I think this could have been told quickly in a 2-hour movie, which would have been badass.
Yeah.
But basically, it's about this town in Florida that's going through a hurricane. And they go through this disastrous hurricane, and it fucks things up pretty bad. But then shit starts happening, and like weird stuff. And what happened was you see what had happened is the hurricane was actually caused by an alien invasion. They used
Oh.
it as their cover to infiltrate Earth and into this area. And then all the weird shit that was happening afterwards is these aliens were hidden there now, and they were like basically infiltrating and doing all this shit, where they had invaded Earth. And the people of this community were slowly starting to figure that out. I think it would have been a really cool, quick sci-fi movie that would have an interesting premise about an invasion hidden by a hurricane, and like they infiltrate Earth that way and everybody's caught off guard. Really cool idea. Just didn't play out well over a long season of 20 something episodes. It just, you could have consolidated the story, made a really cool sci-fi kind of, alien invasion epic movie without having to spread it out over any kind of time.
That's kind of how I feel about my second one, which is A League of Their Own. That's on Amazon, which is actually very good and very well done. But I just felt like, the pacing was kind of off. And I just felt like, it could have been just a much better movie. The original's a movie. Why not just make it another movie?
With a different group of girls.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, like reboots are happening all the fucking time now. I get you were probably trying to be different. They turn it into a series. But I mean, like I said, reboots are happening all the freaking time. So why not just turn that into a part of it? And people would have liked it. Some people do like reboots, I will say. And this one was actually good. Did you ever watch any of this?
I did not.
It was good. It was good. Definitely, I didn't get through the first season, but it's definitely still on the list of continuing to watch. And no news yet about if it's getting a second season or not, because I don't feel like Amazon pushed it the proper way. So yeah, A League of Their Own.
There you go. Okay. My number 2, Heroes. Massively huge hit on NBC back in the day for at least the first season. And then it started to lose its appeal and die off only because it was very intense, and the story they didn't follow through on the story as well as they could have in the lingering seasons. But it's basically about these group of people that discover that they have superpowers and are set out to save the world, but they have no idea how they're all connected. So, and they are connected. They all eventually become together. They all come together to save the world. And it starts off with save the cheerleader, save the world. And it's basically everybody has this image of this cheerleader dying, and they know that somehow she has to be saved. And that was played by Hayden Panettiere. She was the cheerleader. And like I said, Milo Ventimiglia was the main guy that was the first one to try to say, I have to save the cheerleader. It was a brilliant show. They did it in comic book panels that become real life, and
Cool.
And kind of, but the whole intricacy of how they were all connected and what their dilemma was of changing the world. And so this one guy, his power was he was writing the comic books. He was painting the comic books, and they were coming to life because he was foreseeing the future of what was happening. And so there was a time traveler, and he was a fan of the comic books, and he was reading the comic, and he was starting to realize that all of this shit in the comic books was actually coming true and was real. And how do I connect all this kind of stuff? I only say all of that to get to the point of, I think it would have been an epic film. They could have told this whole story in maybe a 2.5 hour movie, and it would have been just absolutely freaking amazing, and not run into the problem where it started to get long-winded towards the end of the season. Just should have been.
I mean, that's how I feel about my number 1 too. This is, again, my own opinion, and a lot of people love this show. It's Amazon's biggest show out right now. But The Boys, I feel like The Boys is very drawn out. I know some, like I said, my opinion, but I just feel like it's a very interesting concept. It's so freaking interesting, especially the time period that we live in right now, where superheroes are the biggest thing, and they're not necessarily the best type of people in this show. But I just feel like, it's hard to watch sometimes because some of the episodes are just like, whoa, and I'm just like, but yeah, I got through, and I was on the second season, and I got through the first season, and I was just like, man, I don't want to watch this anymore. It like the concept is cool and story arcs are like pretty decent, but like I don't know, man. I just something about it was just so draggy for me. So that's why I think it would be a much better franchise or show that Amazon could do. But what do I know? What do I know? It's very successful for Amazon. So like I said, just my opinion.
Okay, so my number one, and don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that it could have been done better as a movie because I don't like the show. I fucking love the show. But it could definitely have been a blockbuster film as opposed to a series. They knew it because it's only 2 seasons. They had the first season and they greenlit it for a second season because they wanted to finish up the story. They knew it needed a little bit more played out to finish up the story. That just says to me, even they knew this probably could have been told in one epic film.
Yeah.
It's basically a crime drama about a judge who ends up having to be a corrupt judge because his son ends up accidentally killing the son of the mafia guy that runs the family in New Orleans.
Did you say the title?
Your Honor.
There it is.
Your Honor. So it's just, and then how that all plays out, and then the ramifications of the ending of that first season. And okay, wow, that happened. Now what? I love it. It's fantastic. It's brilliant cast. With Bryan Cranston and just the entire cast is amazing. Totally could have been a movie though, like a crime suspense thriller movie, like along the lines of a Seven, or I don't want to say The Godfather because nothing will ever touch The Godfather as a gangster film,
Never.
but a mafia film. But this mafia family is extremely powerful and extremely well done, and the setting is in New Orleans, and you know, corrupt judges, which are a thing in New Orleans. I lived there a long time. I know. Don't come at me. But I just think it could have been a huge blockbuster film with the cast that they have. Even the cast that they have could have been in the film. And I think it would have done amazingly well. And you could have knocked it out over a 2-hour period instead of 2 seasons. But I'm loving it. And I highly recommend you watch it. But I would have liked to have seen this thing as a film. I think it would have been epic.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Well, guys, that is our top 5 segment. Let us know the television shows that you thought could have been better as movies. We want to know. Be sure to comment below in the YouTube section or add us on Twitter at @JLoganAustin and at Crazy Ant CEO. We love the fan interaction. It's so fun. It's so fun to get everybody's opinion.